Hello again. This is the episode after the episode because something just happened and I need to talk about it. I just finished Need for Speed Heat. For someone who normally isn't known for finishing games, this is a huge achievement. Hello again, and welcome to another episode of whatever this is. I'm really happy to see you again, and today I'm going to be talking about games again because last time I kind of felt that nobody really was as into simulation games as much as I was. But today we're going to be talking about something more popular. A lot of you have at some point played this game as a kid. Need for Speed. Who hasn't played Need for Speed? I grew up playing Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit on some Windows 98 laptop, and I fell in love the first time I played it, even though I didn't really get the hang of what it should be, how it should be played. But still, it was a great game. I loved it, and I was waiting for more, even though I gotta admit, I've never played either Most Wanted, the original Most Wanted, or Underground. And I kind of understand the hype because this was like, to a lot of people, this was Need for Speed's peak. But at some point I will play them because, as far as I know, this latest edition of Need for Speed is already pretty good. So how about that, the game which was considered the epitome of what Need for Speed was. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about Need for Speed Heat. And I wasn't usually known for playing racing games. I'm more of a fighting games guy, but then again, I fell in love with Need for Speed Heat the moment I started playing it. I found it hard to love the other recent games like Payback and the self-titled game and all that. I felt like they didn't tick as much as Need for Speed Heat did. But now, without further ado, we'll get into what made this game a huge favorite for me, and we'll get to talk about 5 things about this game that either intrigued me or were things that made this game a favorite one for me. Okay, so the story is pretty linear. This is one of the intriguing things about Need for Speed, is that while the racing is great and a lot of aspects of this game just scream ingenuity, this part I felt like it need a little bit of work. The ending, I'm not gonna say what the ending was, but the ending was confusing, and the story felt pretty linear to the point where I felt like the story wasn't the highlight of what the game was. Okay, there was a story. 2 siblings who meet the player, who is you, the character you choose to play with in the game. You are just labeled as player in the game, which kind of doesn't give you any character in the game. You're playing as you. So to them, you're a player. To yourself, you're Mike. So the story wasn't all that, it wasn't it, but it did add some depth to the game as to why they do it and why they are racers, and what they are fighting for, what they're fighting against. It made a lot of sense, but still felt pretty bland. It didn't make me feel like this story added depth, but not enough depth to the point where I felt like it needed that kind of story. Just the racing would have been fine if it were for me. Now, something about this game that I really hate, but also I'm very intrigued by, is the very aggressive cops. Need for Speed has always been known for adding cop cars and cop chases and Hot Pursuit. Hot Pursuit was basically Need for Speed's thing. But then when you deal with cops that are this aggressive, as soon as you get to Heat level 3, and then it rises to Heat level 5 and you can't shake them off, the achievement where you have to beat a Heat 5 cop chase, it feels impossible at this point, at least for me, as someone who basically casually plays this game. I've kind of grown afraid of playing the night mode so that I don't get immediately taken down by cops, because I actually lack the skill on shaking this kind of cops off. They're so difficult, and I don't know how this wasn't fixed, but we'll get later to why eventually this wasn't fixed. But overall, when there's a little bit of cop action at night, you feel like the game is fun enough. But then there's no cop action in the day. When you hit a cop, there's no heat, and then you feel like, okay, why aren't the cops chasing me? I'm a racer right there. It's daylight. They can go ahead and chase me. So there are no cop chases in the day. But I guess they already knew somehow that making the cop chases also happen during the day would have made this game impossible to beat. So they already know the cops are pretty hard. Then again, there should have been a fix for this, because as challenging as it is, the cops are so annoying in this game, especially during the night. You just can't escape a Heat 5 cop chase unless you're Black Panther. What can I say? It's a very difficult game with the cops there, and I wish this would have simmered down just a little bit. I love the off-road racing in this game. This is one of my favorite points about this game that I actually just recently discovered, and I've gotten addicted to it. I got the BMW X6, and this was basically my off-road car for the rest of the game. This absolute monster of a car just makes it so satisfying to do these off-road racing missions and these off-road races. And the problem really with this mode is that at some point it gets difficult to move the car up to a higher level through upgrades, because of course the score of a car is oriented to how racy it is or how oriented to racing it is. So whenever you try to make it like straight up an off-road car, it gets a bad score, and then it makes it more difficult to upgrade the car to the point there's now missions that require me to have a level 280 off-road car, but I can't do that because the parts I have aren't good enough. So you have to wait and keep ranking up your rep just a little bit to be able to upgrade your off-road car better, as well as your other cars. Problem is, it's so easy to upgrade a race car but not an off-road car, because when you get to upgrading the off-road car, you have to keep in mind that, well, the parts that are off-road are going to minimize the score, while the parts that are race, it's a really annoying way of determining whether a car is good for an off-road race. And I think it would have been better if the car is already oriented for off-road, why don't you just go ahead and increase the score based on it being already an off-road car? I don't know if this makes sense, but I wish that the customization was just a little bit less difficult. Even swapping the engines feels like it needs a little bit of work. My stock engine is already good, and then when you get to the engines that you can buy and swap them with, they're not better, they're even worse. This is a downgrade. How are these on the list? I feel like there should have been better engines, an actual upgrade to the engine in the list of swap engines, instead of just engines that are worse than the stock engine. Doesn't make sense to me, but still, I love off-road racing. I love the off-road car that I got. This makes the game 200% more better. Just that. Okay, without getting too much into detail, I love the customization in this game. I feel like not just the engine customization, because of course when you customize the engine, you get better speeds, better horsepower, all of that, which is nice. But then when you get the body customization, I'm so much about the visual stuff in games. Like, I am the kind of guy who actually gets mesmerized by graphics, because people would be like, oh, graphics aren't like the best aspect of a game. Who gives a shit about graphics? To me, when a game is visually good, especially a car racing game, it just makes it a whole lot more fun for me. Now, when you get to the body customization, there are so many options, and each car has a customization rating. It tells you the versatility of how you can customize this car. When a car's customization rating is 2, you look at it and think, well, all you can customize about this car is the wheels and pretty much decals and the wrap and whatnot. But the other cars with a much higher customization score, you're able to make it into something that looks completely different. It feels so good. For me, as someone who loves customizing things, for me, the customization aspect is just my favorite about any game. And when it comes to games like Need for Speed Heat, the customization is just so satisfying, and all the new parts just make me look at the cars like a little kid and just feel like I can do anything with it. I can make it into something completely, fascinating. For me, customization in this game is a plus, especially as someone who just enjoys customization in games in general. Now we get to the hot take. Why did this game never get an update ever since it was released? People were waiting for hot fixes for especially just one thing out of anything else, not even about the cops being aggressive. When you press the nitro button, the same boost you get goes to all of the other cars you're racing with. And this never got a fix. This problem never got a fix ever since the game was released. The lack of support this game got, honestly, it's frustrating, but then again, the game still stood firm just without the proper use of nitro in the game. Other than that, the game was pretty well. It's just that a lot of things concerning physics and the nitrous in the game would have been better if there was a little bit of attention towards the game, given towards the game, and a little bit of support just to keep the game stable and feel and play much better than it currently does. With the state it's currently in, it's already pretty good, but when you fix these little, mishaps and such, Need for Speed Heat could have been another Need for Speed masterpiece, just on the same level as Most Wanted. I bet Most Wanted was also, like, it had a little bit of bugginess at some point. Just that to me, Need for Speed Heat is in an era where there has to be a little bit of attention to bug fixes and hot fixes and all of that. So to me, I feel like the nitros and these, small physics problems and camera problems would have, without getting into detail on what these problems are, they could have been fixed. And I wish there at some point there would be some miraculous major update for Need for Speed Heat that would make the game just a lot better. Overall, Need for Speed Heat is officially, this is not to make me look like a zoomer, I personally believe that at this point, Need for Speed Heat is my top favorite Need for Speed game, mainly because it's the only Need for Speed game that I actually finished. But I would expect, at least for Need for Speed 2022, I guess they're kind of working on it. That's what I heard, at least for Black Panther. I hope that the next Need for Speed builds on the success of Need for Speed Heat and tries to learn from the previous game that there needs to be a little bit more attention to quality assurance and that there needs to be proper support for it to stay alive. But at this point, I don't know how many people play Need for Speed Heat, but I hope that the next Need for Speed, particularly Need for Speed 2022, as it's being marketed currently, I hope that this game builds on what Need for Speed Heat has done and become another Need for Speed masterpiece. And that's all for today. If you like this video, go ahead and press like. If you dislike, go ahead and dislike it. And if you feel like you want to watch more of my content, go ahead and subscribe. We're very welcoming of everyone here to enjoy my random ranty content. I still have more plans to make better content, more scripted content in the future, particularly sketches and video essays. I don't know how that will work, but I only have 10 more days before this next semester starts. We'll see what happens from there. Thank you for watching. This is Mustafa Gharib, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.